What do you see from Jim McElwain in year 3 of this process?
I think the personnel is much better. I think if you look at offensive lines, defensive lines, secondary, wide receiving crew, I think the quarterback. I think the personnel is really better. And now they're going to have in this one game's position, they're going to have to deal with 10 of their players not going to be lined up and not in uniform, and they're going to have to deal with the fact that their buddies are saying, "Hey, listen, we did everything all summer long so that we could be here and play together, and now you're not there." And handling that distraction is going to be a key piece for Jim.
Was there a game you went through that closely approximated that, having so many key guys out for a big game like this? And
Never. I had a key guy out for a long time, but I did not have a mass issue.
Knowing how locker rooms work, I mean, what impact do you think that's going to have, having that cloud hanging over them?
Well, it really kind of depends on how it was presented and taken a long time ago, okay? And if you stood in front of the team and you said, okay, listen, we need this room to come intact to the game. We are not going to be as good if they are not all here, everybody, and you know who I'm talking about, and you know the trouble that you're in, and try to curb it some. And then, once you've identified it and you've encircled it, you don't make a big deal out of it, and you go on beyond it, and everybody knows, but we're counting on you now to step in the void and play the position as it was meant to be played. And you go forward from there, and you don't let anybody drag you back into that conversation, because you're planning to have a great game plan for 3 quarterbacks, 3 tailbacks, guys that you're going to have a great offensive line, guys that, so you have work to do, and you don't need to look back and go the distraction.
If they were planning their game plan around Jordan Scarlett and they had to change course in 3 days, how tough is that to remove a focal point that close to a game and switch things around in that limited window?
Well, if they have, there's always going to be a second team back, and a second team back in Florida is going to be a really good back. It's going to be somebody who steps in there and goes, "Oh yeah, this game, hey, it's perfect. You just set it up for me." Now, coaches would certainly like to have their best back, but that second team back in Florida is pretty good, and that's that's what you have to say. Hey, listen, we didn't recruit people around here that weren't really quality. We're going to put you on the field with an advantage. And the advantage is your skill.
You obviously got to see Michael P. Ryan, the second team back last year, had a pretty decent game. How do you describe that?
I think that their skill level is very capable. I don't see him as being off the charts. I'm not worried about Leonard Fournette right now, but I'm seeing very quality backs, guys that can make the tough 7-yard run, and if you give them space, they can hit home run.
So, have you ever been entering a big game like this with so many players out, including the top 2 offensive playmakers?
No, this is the first time. And when you think of it, a lot of these, let's just be honest, I mean, 2 guys really concerned you.
Yeah.
Antonio Callaway and Scarlett. So I think for me, if you break it down, 10 players, you want to have depth. Some of those guys, special teams guys, may contribute in that way. But when you talk about, for me, it's Antonio Callaway. I mean, not only the production, but how he can dictate defenses. And you miss more of him being a guy that's just out there that the defense has to pay attention to so other guys can free up. I think the running back position, I mean, we've seen guys get hurt and the next guy come run for 1,500 yards. So I'm not sure. I think P. Ryan will step in and do a good job at that spot. But the Callaway missing, not only offensively, but also in special teams, is huge. And then you ushering in a new quarterback without his best weapon in the first game against Harbaugh, who's going to play good defense. Michigan's going to be coached up now. They're going to be ready to play. They're going to have a good understanding of what they're trying to do offensively. So I always ask the question, what do people do when the talent is similar, right? It comes down to your playmakers. And Florida is missing their best playmaker. So that was, for me, that's the toughest pill to swallow out of all 10 guys not being there.
from your experience in locker rooms, is there an intangible factor though, just having this cloud hanging over? Is that a real thing, or is that not really
it can motivate you, or it could steal some of your thunder. I had a chance to talk to Florida this offseason. I think the one thing about McElwain that I love is that everybody knows what's going on. And I think that's a big deal, because then players can decide how they want to feel about whatever the situation is. I think coming into this game, you got out in front of it, you talked about it. So they've had time to think about this. The Callaway, Scarlett just hit, but they've had time to think about this. Mac has had time to prepare without his best offensive player. So you would think that, and the way they've recruited, it's another good player there that we just don't know about yet this year. So I think it depends. If you got leadership in the locker room, you use it and say, hey, one of our guys won't be here, two of our guys won't be here. Next man up, step up and make the plays. Or you say, man, we missing Callaway.
Yeah.
What happens in the third quarter when you need a play? What happens on third down? On third down and 7 in the fourth quarter, and the game tied up, or you down 7 and you need a play. And the fact that we all know in the media that would have been Antonio Callaway, now the question is, who will that guy be? Will it be Brandon Powell? Will it be Tyreek Cleveland? Will it be P. Ryan? Who will it be? Because you got a young quarterback that's trying to figure out in those moments without his best player who I'm going to go to.
As a player in the locker room, do you talk about that anymore, or is it now, okay, well, these 85 guys in the locker room is what we got to worry about?
That's it, man. I mean, going into this game week, obviously it's a looming issue, and you want to make sure, like, let's be clear with Antonio, these are decisions now. They're not mistakes. I hate when people get on. The first time may have been a mistake. You might young, and this is decisions now. So that part of it, as probably a leader of the team, I'm like, we can't count on this dude. Bottom line, like, we don't know if he's going to be available the rest of the year. We don't know if he's going to be available next week or the week after that. So as leadership, you have to prepare, and you have to talk to the rest of your teammates like, we don't have this guy. And sometimes that makes the team stronger. Sometimes that makes the guy that's not available realize these dudes moving on from me. The toughest pill to swallow is the scrutiny you get from your teammates. It ain't the media, it ain't the coaches, it's them dudes in the locker room. Once they start saying, dude, you effing up, like, you not here for us, we need you. And if it don't register then nobody will be able to get to you.